Welcome to another episode of Walking the Walk. We are the walkers for Christ, and today is Bible Study Monday, and we are discussing about how to become a man or woman after God's own heart. And today is episode 3, and the title is David Triumphs over Goliath. And we are going to continue from the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 17, David and Goliath. And I'll take you through all of it. We're going to learn 7 traits about David and what made him a man after God's own heart. So we'll begin 1 Samuel chapter 17. Now the Philistines gathered their armies together to battle, and were gathered together at Soko, which belongs to Judah. They encamped between Soko and Azekah in Ephes Damim. And Saul and the men of Israel were gathered together, and they encamped in the valley of Elah, and drew up in battle array against the Philistines. The Philistines stood on a mountain on one side, and Israel stood on a mountain on the other side, with a valley between them. And a champion went out from the camp of the Philistines, named Goliath, from Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. He had a bronze helmet on his head, and he was armed with a coat of mail, and the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of bronze. And he had bronze greaves on his legs, and a bronze javelin between his shoulders. Verse 7, Now the staff of his spear was like a weaver's beam, and his iron spearhead weighed 600 shekels, and a shield bearer went before him. Verse 8, Then he stood and cried out of the armies of Israel, and said to them, Why have you come out to line up for battle? Am I not a Philistine, and you the servants of Saul? Choose a man for yourselves, and let him come down to me. If he is able to fight with me and kill me, then we will be your servants. But if I prevail against him and kill him, then you shall be our servants and servers. And the Philistines said, I defy the armies of Israel this day. Give me a man that we may fight together. Verse 11, When Saul and all Israel heard these words of the Philistine, they were dismayed and greatly afraid. Verse 12, Now David was the son of that Ephrathite of Bethlehem, Judah, whose name was Jesse, and who had 8 sons. And the man was old, advanced in years, in the days of Saul. The 3 oldest sons of Jesse had gone to follow Saul to the battle. The names of the 3 sons who went to the battle were Eliab the firstborn, next to him Abinadab, and the third Shammah. David was the youngest, and the 3 oldest followed Saul. Verse 15, But David occasionally went and returned from Saul to feed his father's sheep at Bethlehem. So this is where we find the first trait of David. David was a servant. That is the first point. He is a servant. He used to serve in the kingdom. He served King Saul, and also he used to tend his father's sheep. So that is the first trait we learn from him, that he is a servant. We continue verse 16. And the Philistine drew near and presented himself 40 days, morning and evening. Then Jesse said to his son David, Take now for your brothers an ephah of this dried grain and these 10 loaves, and run to your brothers at the camp. Verse 18, And carry these 10 cheeses to the captain of their 1,000, and see how your brothers fare, and bring back news of them. Verse 19, Now Saul and all the men of Israel were in the valley of Elah, fighting with the Philistines. So David arose early in the morning, left the sheep with a keeper, and took the things and went as Jesse had commanded him. And he came to the camp as the army was going out to the fight and shouting for the battle. Verse 21, For Israel and the Philistines had drawn up in battle array, army against army. Verse 22, And David left his supplies in the hand of the supply keeper, ran to the army, and came and greeted his brothers. So this is verse 22. We see that he is obedient to his father, and he is also caring. He went and followed just the way his father had told him to go, and check his brothers and give him report if his brothers are okay. So that is the second point of David, that he is caring and obedient. Verse 23. Then he talked with them. There was the champion, the Philistine of Gath, Goliath by name, coming up from the armies of the Philistines, and he spoke according to the same words. So David heard them. And all the men of Israel, they saw the man, fled from him, and were dreadfully afraid. Verse 25. So the men of Israel said, have you seen this man who has come up? Surely he has come to defy Israel. And it shall be that the man who kills him, the king will enrich him with great riches, will give him his daughter, and give him his father's house exemption in Israel, exemption from the taxes. Verse 26. Then David spoke to the men who stood by him, saying, what shall be done for the man who kills the Philistine and takes away the reproach from Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine, that he should defy the armies of the living God? So we see that this man is a man who understands covenant, and he knows that the covenant of the Lord should not be defied, especially by someone who is not in the covenant. So we continue, verse 27. And the people answered him in this manner, saying, so shall it be for the man who kills him. Now Eliab, his oldest brother, heard when he spoke to the men, and Eliab's anger was aroused against David. And he said, why did you come down here? And with whom have you left those few sheep in the wilderness? I know your pride and the insolence of your heart, for you have come down to see the battle. Verse 29, and David said, what have I done now? Is there not a cause? Then he turned from him towards another, and said the same thing, and these people answered him as the first ones did. And when the words which David spoke were heard, they reported them to Saul, and he sent for him. Then David said to Saul, let no man's heart fail because of him. Your servant will go and fight with this Philistine. So we see that he is courageous. He is willing to go out and put his life on the line to go and face this giant because he had trust in the Lord. So verse 33, and Saul said to David, you are not able to go against the Philistine to fight with him, for you are but a youth, and he a man of war from his youth. But David said to Saul, your servant used to keep his father's sheep, and when a lion or a bear came and took a lamb out of the flock, I went out after it and struck it and delivered the lamb from its mouth. And when it arose against me, I caught it by its beard and struck and killed it. Your servant has killed both lion and bear, and this uncircumcised Philistine will be like one of them, seeing he has defied the armies of the living God. So this is a man who has faith in God. He believes that the God who delivered him from the bear and from the lion will deliver him also from this Philistine, because he regarded him as an animal, because he was not part of the covenant. He didn't see him as someone who mattered, because this is someone who defied the Lord, and David knew the consequence of defying the Lord, their God. Verse 37, moreover, David said, the Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion and from the paw of the bear, he'll deliver me from the hand of the Philistine. And Saul said to David, go, and the Lord be with you. So Saul clothed David with his armor, and he put a bronze helmet on his head. He also clothed him with a coat of mail. And David fastened his sword to his armor, and he tried to walk, for he had not tested them. And David said to Saul, I cannot walk with this, for I have not tested them. So David took them off. Then he took his staff in his hand, and he chose for himself 5 smooth stones from the brook, and put them in a shepherd's bag, and in a pouch which he had, and his sling was in his hand, and he drew near to the Philistine. So the Philistine came and began drawing near to David, and the man who bore the shield went before him. And when the Philistine looked about and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth, ruddy and good-looking. So the Philistine said to David, "Am I a dog that you come to me with sticks?" And the Philistine cast David by his gods. And the Philistine said to David, "Come to me, and I will give your flesh to the birds of the air and the beasts of the field." Then David said to the Philistine, You come to me with a sword, with a spear, and with a javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defiled. This is the day the Lord will deliver you into my hand, and I will strike you and take your head from you. And this day I will give the carcasses of the camp of the Philistines to the birds of the air and the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in heaven. Verse 47, Then all this assembly shall know that the Lord does not save with sword, spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands. So we see that this is another point of David. He allowed himself to be used by the Lord to give glory to the Lord. He knew that the Lord will give him victory, and he knew that the Lord of hosts is a God who fights for his people, and the battle is his. So he knew that he focused on the Lord, and he knew that the Lord is bigger than this giant, bigger than this man who has defied the army. So because he knew the Lord is bigger and he knew that the Lord is going to win victory over him, he was not afraid of the giant, and he declared that the battle is in the hand of the Lord, and he will give this giant into the hands of David. So that's the fifth point. Verse 48, And it was so, when the Philistine arose and came and drew near to meet David, that David hastened and ran towards the army to meet the Philistine. Then David put his hand in his bag and took out a stone and slung it and struck the Philistine in his forehead, so that the stone sank into his forehead, and he fell on his face to the earth. So David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and a stone, and struck the Philistine and killed him. But there was no sword in the hand of David. Therefore David ran and stood over the Philistine, took his sword and drew it out of its sheath, and killed him, and cut off his head with it. And when the Philistines saw that their champion was dead, they fled. So we see that this is a courageous man. He was trained by the Lord to be a man of war. And being a young boy did not prevent him he was fearless. He just took the sword and killed this giant in front of everyone. And he allowed the victory of the Lord to be seen, and people to see that the Lord is a God who is alive. He fights for his people. Verse 52. Now the men of Israel and Judah arose and shouted and pursued the Philistines as far as the entrance of the valley and to the gates of Ekron. And the wounded of the Philistines fell along the road to Sharaim, even as far as Gath and Ekron. Then the children of Israel returned from chasing the Philistines, and they plundered their tents. And David took the head of the Philistine and brought it to Jerusalem, but he put his armor in his tent. Now when Saul saw David going out against the Philistine, he said to Abner, the commander of the army, Abner, whose son is this youth? And Abner said, As your soul lives, O king, I do not know. And the king said, Inquire whose son this young man is. Then as David returned from the slaughter of the Philistine, Abner took him and brought him before Saul with the head of the Philistine in his hand. And Saul said to him, Whose son are you, young man? And David answered, I am the son of your servant Jesse, the Bethlehemite. So we see that this is a man who is humble. David was humble because even after that victorious victory, he was not proud. He did not see it as his doing, but the doing of the Lord. And that's why even before Saul, he will go and say, I am the son of your servant. He sees himself as someone who can serve and not someone who has just won a victory for a nation. So those are the 7 traits that I wanted us to learn from David. That first, he is a servant. He served his father and also served King Saul. He is caring and obedient to his parent. So he was caring because he went and checked on his brothers and brought them some food, just like instructed by his father. Then you see he is a man of faith and he believes in God, and he knows that he will get victory from only the Lord, not him, but the Lord. He understands that God cannot be defied, and if you do so, the consequence is death. Then the fifth point, he gives God the glory. He allowed himself to be used. He allowed the Lord to bring victory to them using his hand, and he knew it's not how skillful he was in fighting, but it is because the Lord has given his enemy into his hand. Then the sixth point is that he is a courageous man. He's a young man, but he accepted to face the giant without fear, and he did not even go with the protection or with the armor that Saul was presenting to him. He trusted the Lord and he went on, not fearing for his life. Then the last point is that he calls himself a humble servant. He calls his father a servant. Even after a victorious win, he still presents himself as a servant. So those are the 7 traits we learn from this chapter about David. Then takeaway points. We have 2 takeaway points from this story. And the first takeaway point is that your faith in God can save a nation from destruction. Just because David was a man after God's own heart, a man given to obedience, a man who fears the Lord. Through his obedience, he saved his own nation. He saved his nation because he allowed the Lord to work through him. So if we allow the Lord to work through us, we can save others. We can save the souls of others. We can save a whole nation. We can save a church. We can save a household from the incoming destruction or from the attempts of the enemy to destroy the plans of God. Then the second thing we take away from this story is that your victory will bring blessings to others. And we see this in verse 53. Then the children of Israel returned from chasing the Philistines, and they plundered their tents. So by plundering their tents, it means they received wealth, they received clothes, silver, gold. They got things. The Lord gave them the wealth of the enemy through this one action of David, through David earning victory for this nation. So it was not just for David, but also for his people. He saved them, and on top of it, they got wealth. So those are the takeaway points we learn, that our obedience to God will save a nation and bring even provision for others. So we should allow ourselves to be used by the Lord and allow the Lord to do his plan in us. So we are going to check 1 Psalms from David, and this is Psalms 25. And Psalms 25 shows that David understands that the battle is for the Lord, that the Lord will give the enemy into your hand if you allow him to go ahead of you, and that the Lord is a covenant keeper, and he keeps his covenant that he has made with his people, even with your forefathers. So I'm going to take you through the Psalms 25, and we see how David viewed the Lord his God. So Psalms 25, to you, O Lord, I lift up my soul. To my God, O my God, I trust in you. Let me not be ashamed. Let not my enemies triumph over me. Indeed, let no one who waits on you be ashamed. Let those be ashamed who deal treacherously without cause. Show me your ways, O Lord. Teach me your paths. Lead me in your truth and teach me. For you are the God of my salvation. On you I wait all the day. Remember, O Lord, your tender mercies and your loving kindness, for they have been from of old. Do not remember the sins of my youth, nor my transgressions. According to your mercy, remember me, for your goodness' sake, O Lord. Good and upright is the Lord, therefore he teaches sinners in the way. The humble he guides in justice, and the humble he teaches his way. So we see that David was humble because he knew when you're humble, the Lord will guide you in justice, and he will teach you his way. Verse 10, all the paths of the Lord are mercy and truth, to such as keep his covenant and his testimonies. So he knew that the Lord is a God who keeps his covenant, and he knew because Goliath has defied the armies of the Lord and despised the covenant that the Lord has with his chosen nation, Israel, at that time, he knew that Goliath is going to face consequences because the Lord keeps his covenant. Verse 11, for your name's sake, O Lord, pardon my iniquity, for it is great. Who is the man that fears the Lord? Him shall he teach in the way he chooses. He himself shall dwell in prosperity, and his descendants shall inherit the earth. The secret of the Lord is with those who fear him, and he will show them his covenant. My eyes are ever towards the Lord, for he shall pluck my feet out of the net. Turn yourself to me and have mercy on me, for I am desolate and afflicted. The troubles of my heart have large. O bring me out of my distresses. Look on my affliction and my pain, and forgive all my sins. Consider my enemies, for they are many, and they hate me with cruel hatred. O keep my soul and deliver me. Let me not be ashamed, for I put my trust in you. Let integrity and uprightness preserve me, for I wait for you. Redeem Israel, O God, out of all their troubles. So in this psalm, we see that this is a humble man. We see this is a man who repents to God. He knows, he reminds God of his covenant. He praises the Lord, and he has requested the Lord to put his enemies, to give justice and put his enemies under his hand. And he knows that when you fear the Lord, he will not put you to shame. So these are some of the things we learn from David, so that we can also practice them and be a man or woman after God's own heart. So I believe you have learned a lot, and I believe you have enjoyed the word of God, and you have enjoyed this episode. So thank you for watching. See you on the next episode.